I think we're live. Chad, do you want to take the intro as you used to do?
Oh my God, I don't even know if I remember it, but good evening and welcome to Explorers Seekers of the Truth. I am, of course, Chad Charlesworth, and I'm joined by my best friend, co-host, and co-investigator, Les Cabbage. How are you doing this evening, Les?
I am fantastic. I'm living the quarantine dream, I guess.
Yeah, well,
How about
yeah,
you?
not too bad. I'm also living the dream.
That's right. That's right. So it has been a long, long, long time since Chad and I have been on air, if you will, or online streaming. I guess the show didn't take priority for a little while there. Not that we did not want to do it. We just didn't really have time. Things kind of, you know, took precedence over the show. But with that being said, and given the circumstances with the whole COVID-19 and virus that's going around and everybody quarantined, we thought maybe we'd stop by, say hello, see how everybody's doing, and maybe just talk for a little bit. Pass some time.
Yeah, figured it was something to do. That's
Yeah.
better than not talking. So,
Yeah,
uh,
that's right. That's right.
yes, as you can tell, the beard is a lot shorter. See?
Shorter, but it's still there. It's still there. It's still alive and well. Looks good and full of volume.
Well, it's my beauty secrets. Actually, I that Dr. Squatch stuff, I sent you the picture of the box.
Mm-hmm.
I've been using it now for about 2 weeks, and it actually is a pretty good soap. I'm not thrilled with their shampoo because it gives me frizz, but I naturally have frizzy beard hair for some reason.
I think most people do.
Yeah, mine's really bad. I had a little black lady tell me how kinky my hair was.
Well, I guess there you go.
I took it as a compliment, but I was kind of like, thank you, I think.
Ay, ay, ay.
But
So, you want to kind of talk about what you heard about the whole quarantine ghost investigating kind of thing? We'll kind of kick the show off with that, I guess, since we really don't have anything to talk about. We just wanted to stop in and say hi and see what everybody's up to, but figured we might have a little bit of news. I know Chad had found something, so do you want to share that, buddy? Or did we lose you? Did you freeze up? Are you still there? Uh, it would not be our show if we didn't have technical difficulties. Apparently, Chad's video froze, and I don't know. I don't know what's going on here. He had the topic, and he's not there. So let's see if we can get him back on. Chad, if you're still able to hear me, please log back in so we could get the topic rolling. But yeah, so anybody listening out there, I hope you guys are all safe, staying healthy. Hopefully, nobody has been affected by this virus that's going around because it's pretty scary. I don't know of anybody in my local area that actually has it, but I know a neighboring town is really, really bad, and the numbers that I see on the news and online and everything seem to be rising in a very terrifying rate. So hopefully that changes, and people start staying home and doing the social distance thing and not going out when they don't need to avoid any of this. So yeah, I can see if I could get in touch with Chad again here and get him back on so we could hopefully do this show. See, Moon Joey's here. Good, that's good. Moon Joey, you're always tuned in. The Attack of the Zombies, basically at 9 p.m. So everybody keep an eye on the clock, I guess. Looks like my feed's starting to cut out. Technical difficulties, as always. I apologize in advance, everybody. We didn't plan on this all happening, but if the feed keeps cutting out, I'm just going to have to end the show, unfortunately. I just got a message from Chad. He's trying to get back in. Gotta love it. This is another reason why we haven't done this show in over a year. This goddamn program. Oh boy. Let's see if we could get him logged in. I don't know. I'm not seeing him. Well, looks like we are having our typical technical difficulties, so I might have to feed short, unfortunately. I'm not able to get Chad back in. We had a lot of issues before the show even started with audio and video and everything like that, so unfortunately, I think I have to pull the plug on this. So I can't do it without my co-host. Can't continue the show. So if we could get things figured out, maybe we'll log on a little bit later, but otherwise, everybody stay safe. I apologize. Oh, wait. Looks like he's back. Hold on one second. There you are.
You know, I bet you.
What happened? Everything just froze and the video cut.
It's weird because my internet here at the house just completely dropped.
Well, that'd probably be the reason why that happened then.
I bet you.
So are you on the phone now?
No, I'm actually, the computer picked it back up. It just, for some reason, randomly dropped out. I bet you it was that bitch, Zach fucking Bagans.
Yeah. Listen here, mother effers.
You can't talk about me.
Yeah, it was funny because you just logged back in and was about ready to pull the plug on the show. I thought, well, there's no point in me going on if I don't have you on here. So I was literally just getting ready to press the button. So before we got cut off, now, off to an extremely rocky start, and I do apologize again. Chad and I were talking before the show, and one of the things that we kind of figured we'd just come on the air and talk about was I guess there was a debate online with whether or not people should be going out doing investigations during this time. I mean, I think the obvious answer is shouldn't, but we're gonna do a little point counterpoint on what people think. So, Chad?
Well, my thought on it is, like, if it was you and I, and we lived in the same town, and there's that cemetery outside of town,
yeah,
where you and I, if we were quarantined in the same town, let's face it, if I had it, you would have it.
Probably, yeah.
Or vice versa. So if you and I are both healthy, we're not around sick people, we decide to go up to the cemetery, we can social distance 6 foot in a cemetery.
Right.
We could do all that stuff from a distance without touching each other, without all the things, breathing and coughing, sneezing on each other.
Right.
We could do all that without contact.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see anything wrong with that. Now, if it was 20 of us, that's a different story.
I was just going to say, like they said, no groups of no more than 10 people, even 10 would be kind of pushing it. But I mean, if there's like 3, 4, maybe 5 of you, I mean, like you said, and you're in an open area, I think you could keep enough distance and there would be enough area that you could kind of separate or even just stay in smaller groups, a few feet apart from each other and try to do an EVP session, walk around with the, K2 meters or whatever you're going to use to try and notice any anomalies, or you could video, there's ways to kind of keep your distance. But I mean, again, I think the likely answer would be, just stay home and wait it out, unfortunately. But I think if you, like you said, if you really had to and you're in an area that doesn't have a lot of high numbers, I mean, like I said, the neighboring town before when you got cut off, I was saying about how now the town that I live in, very active Facebook page. Mm-hmm. They're active on social media. Everybody's laundry seems to be aired out on that. I would assume that if somebody had it in this town, by now it would probably be known. I could be wrong, but I would say it's probably known by now. The neighboring town is out of control, supposedly, with the virus. I saw pictures online, whether or not it was actually the Walmart in Hazleton or not. But they were stacking pallets, blocking people from going to like the clothing sections, the electronics, and all that stuff. And the only areas that were open was like the healthcare section and the grocery section where you could get just the essentials, because people are not complying with the stay at home and social distancing. It's a really big problem up there. But again, that's that town. My town is different, in an open area. I don't really see the harm in it. I don't know.
Yeah, well,
As long as you are smart about it.
yeah, I mean currently Gettysburg actually has a curfew. I think it kicks in at 11:30 at night until like 7 or 8 in the morning. 100% if you're in an area that has a curfew or some kind of ruling like this, understandable that you're not going out at midnight. If you're doing that, you're just an asshole at that point.
Yeah, right.
You're just trying to get in trouble. I understand why they have curfews at this point. You don't want to tie up. You go down the run in Gettysburg, somebody trips and falls in there, breaks a leg. If you're lucky enough to be by the hospital, you could drag yourself to the emergency room. But if you're somewhere further down or something like that, well, now you're tying up the police, you're tying up the emergency response groups and stuff like that, who are, going to be busier at this time.
Right.
But again, like if I live maybe a mile from an old slave cemetery. If I went down there by myself and did an EVP session, took photos, what harm is that?
Right.
And
like you said, as long as you don't have a mandatory curfew or anything like that, you know what I mean? Obviously, if there's a curfew that's enforced, abide by those rules. But if you don't, and honestly, I don't follow any of this stuff. I'm always out in the studio working. I don't know anything else that happens beyond my home. So I don't know what the rules are in my town, but I don't think we're under a mandatory curfew. I think if anything, it might start tomorrow. I don't know. It's all hearsay. I don't know. But anyway, if we don't have the curfew, yeah, I agree with you. I mean, if I'm going out by myself, whatever, there's no harm in that. You're not around anybody. So,
well, I mean, I live in a small community here, and like you said, everybody's on Facebook. It goes from one extreme to another. The governor says, well, you can't go to the gym, but go to parks and walk and ride bikes and exercise there. As long as you social distance, as long as you stay away from groups of people under, they've basically said, under 10. They've amended that a few times now. But we go to the park, we ride bike. And the next day on Facebook, you see everybody at the park is going to kill everybody in town. How is me being healthy going to kill you? Why don't you sit at home on your fat ass, smoking your cigarettes and eating your chicken and Twinkies? I'm sorry, I'm kind of ragey about this. But like
I couldn't tell.
But they're sitting there unhealthy as freaking can be. All the liquor stores are still open. They've actually amended the state law that restaurants can now deliver alcohol as part of their services, which, hey, I'm all for businesses making money. I'm not going to knock somebody for doing that. But they're telling me I can't go to the gym. The gym I go to, when I go, if I see 6 people the entire 2 hours I'm there, it's a miracle. It is 3 floors, and it's got to be 3,000 square foot or 4,000 square foot per floor. We social distance naturally in that gym. Like, we are not, like, when I go, like, I actually talked to somebody that goes there, and they're like, oh my God, I was so scared of you when I first saw you at the gym. And I'm like, why? And they're like, well, you put your hoodie on and your headphones and you don't talk to anybody and you look scary. And I'm like, I just go to work out. I do my thing. I don't want to be bothered. If I'm in between sets and you got a question, come over and ask. I'm a nice person. But like, we social distance naturally. But in this town, if you go to the park, oh my God, you are Typhoid Mary.
Yeah.
But this is people who are sitting at home smoking cigarettes, watching Captain Kangaroo, playing solitaire with a deck of 51. I'm hoping you got that reference.
No, that went right over my head.
Oh my God, the Sadler Brothers, Johnny Cash's old backup band.
Oh God, yeah. Okay.
Counting flowers on the wall that don't bother me at all. Wow, I'm actually singing. I'm raging that bad. But
And oh my God.
You know, these are that's the people saying this stuff. And then you look at like on the paranormal end of it. Like if I go do something on my own, I'm not taking a chance of making somebody sick.
Right.
If I go somewhere by myself, or me and my wife would go somewhere, as long as it's not 20 people have been there before us coughing on everything that have the virus, we're pretty much not going to do anything to anybody.
Well, I think that's part of the reasoning behind shutting down a lot of places like that, because now I've never been to your gym and I don't know what it's like, but I've been to a lot of other gyms and they're not the cleanest places. Although they have things set up, spray bottles where everybody's supposed to be responsible for cleaning stations after they're done. You know as well as I do, some of the places we've gone to, people don't do that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But I mean, I can understand at a smaller town where there's not a lot of traffic through. Okay, and if they have somebody there that's going to go through and clean in an enclosed area where the airflow isn't really strong, you know what I mean? I can see it being a little bit of a problem with just germs being around. But to your point, outdoors, I don't know. I don't see a problem in that. You know what I mean? Like if you're out riding your bike and stuff like that, like you said with your wife, you're not near anybody.
No. I mean, the only people you're seeing out there riding bike, you're passing in a matter of seconds. You may be a little bit closer than 6 foot on the trail, but you're passing them so quickly that you're not necessarily even breathing at the same point that they were.
Yeah.
But like on the paranormal end of it, to keep it with the topic, I don't get, like, I can understand big groups. We've never been a big group. The most we've ever taken on an investigation is 4 people.
If that, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, 3 and, a thing.
Well, our wives too. I mean, our wives. So maybe about 4 or 5 people.
Yeah. Now I can understand like public booking places, paratourism places being closed because it's, safety of people and the fact that most of the governors have shut all that stuff down. Mm-hmm. But if I wanted to go somewhere open air, I don't see why people are getting very upset over stuff that really isn't. I mean, this is actually on Twitter. People are like, I can't believe you're doing that. It's like, but if I don't put content out, you'll stop watching my page, which means if it's a monetized page, I'm going to lose revenue.
Right.
But that's okay for you. But then if I put content out, you complain anyway. So it's like, revenue generation. If you're not out in a group of 10 people and you're applying all these, flatten the curve distancing and stuff like that, I don't see why people are getting upset about this. But then again, I'm also the same person who just pointed out that I live in a small town. If you go bicycling at the park, you are Typhoid Mary and you're killing everybody in town. And it's like, I'm not near you.
Yeah.
Like you've taken the gym away from me. Are you not happy about that?
Yeah, right.
Actually, I'm repping my gym. I got to rep them.
No problem with that. No problem with that, man. You got to represent. I agree with you. I think as long as it's not an enclosed place with close quarters and you don't have a large number of people, you're outdoors. I don't see the harm in it. But if you are going to a place that is indoors, that is going to be a smaller area, stay away from it. Just follow the rules like you're being told to. Stay away from it, and hopefully this goes away sooner rather than later, because it is one of those things where you kind of wake up and you're like, it's almost like Groundhog's Day with Bill Murray. You know what I mean? Every day you wake up and it's Groundhog's Day. You know, it's like, kind of like, is this ever going to be over? And it's in a way, it's like my wife and I were talking about it. Like she says sometimes she'll get up and she's like, is this actually real? Like, is this really happening? You know, is all this stuff really happening? It's very bizarre. You know.
Mm-hmm. You know, you want to know a funny thing?
Hmm.
Add this to list the movies I've never seen. Groundhog's Day is a movie I've never seen.
Oh my gosh. You gotta, that's a great movie.
You know, there are so many movies out there. If we started a list of things I've never seen, but yet,
Yeah.
but yet I can quote parts of them. So that's just, you know, a natural gift.
So you saw the good parts. That's all that counts.
Yeah. You know, the funny parts, and that's all you really need from a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought, you know, that was kind of a hot topic of things going on. And, you know, like I said, I understand, follow the rules, you know, safety. But here's the thing. If we go into an old building, we're going to have a safety protocol like, hey, the Haldeman, the attic. There were holes in that floor that you and I could have fallen through.
Even at our big sizes back then.
Yeah. So like we were safe about it. We were checking the areas where we were, you know, looking with flashlights like, okay, don't walk through the middle of this room because if you do, you're going to end up on the second floor.
Right.
You know, so you got to use safety and you got to use common sense. And I think this is the thing. Some people, you know, aren't using common sense, and there's 5 or 10 of them. But what a lot of people forget is some of these groups live together.
Yeah.
Like it's 2 or 3 roommates like we were in college.
Mm-hmm.
Like you and I would have been living together if this was going on now and we were still in college, we were living together. Mm-hmm. So if you and I decide to take my Jeep and drive out to Gordon Mountain, Hawk Mountain, Hack Mountain, drive down there to Hack Mountain, you know, if we would have done that, who are we hurting?
Right.
You know, now if we ran into 20 people while we were there and stayed, then yes, okay, that's
a problem. Yeah.
That's an issue. But I mean, downtown Pottsville, they had to have the cops on their PA system in their car tell the pajama people who stand on the street corner to disperse because there was more than 6 of them or more than 10 of them, and they were standing right next to each other. They were standing like 2 foot away from each other.
Right.
Now, those are the people that might need to go.
Right.
You know, like if you're not smart enough to figure out 6 foot and why you need to stay 6 foot from each other, I'm not going to miss you. I mean, I'm a realist in that sense. I'm not going to miss you. Like, you're too damn dumb to live.
Well, I don't know what's going on in the neighboring town, but that would be one of the big issues is people aren't understanding. I don't know if it's a language barrier issue or what's going on, but it's spreading like crazy. And that's the scary part for us here is we're so close to this town. Is it going to travel, you know, and well, hopefully everybody in town here is following the rules. Like I said, aside from having to go to the grocery store every now and again, we don't go anywhere. We stay in the house, and believe me, it's wearing thin on mom and dad in the house. It is testing at times, but you know, we're doing what we're told, or at least trying to, you know.
Well, yeah, I mean, same here. We're not, you know, if we don't have to go somewhere, we're not going there. Mm-hmm. You know, a few of my friends own shops. My job, you know, basically they told us stop going anywhere unless you absolutely have to.
Right.
Like they gave us 2 weeks ago, said work from home. You're not barred from the office, but work from home. This week they basically told us we're barred from the office for 30 days.
Right.
Now we are running 2 shifts of people that never cross our on-air talent. They don't cross anymore. They used to meet midway through their shifts and stuff. Now on air is not meeting, production's not meeting. it's basically all emails and notes left for each other. Production's actually moved over into my office area. One of the production guys, which is great because it wasn't really my desk. I was just temporarily using it. So, they've done that where I work, and all of our reporters are filing their stories from home or from the field. And a lot of them are, going to and from hospital, press conferences, all this stuff. So they're definitely, more at risk than, me who's sitting at home doing phone calls and video conferences all day.
Yeah.
But
it's everywhere is shutting down. Like with me, I don't work for a company. I am my own entity, but I work with a lot of other companies, and all my contacts at these places, they're all working from home. Their offices are empty, and nobody is in house anymore. Everybody's working remotely, so that's a good thing. It's good, especially nowadays. Because can you imagine if this happened before the internet? I mean, we'd be in big trouble. But having this technology, I think, has definitely been beneficial for everyone, and especially for like the online businesses. This is really no different than any other day at the office, for lack of better terms, because a lot of those people work remotely anyway, and all their business is online. The only problem is shipping and whatnot, because I don't know if you've tried to order from Amazon or not lately, but things aren't coming quick.
You do know me, right? I don't order anything from Amazon. I don't order anything really, honestly. A few things, but not from Amazon, trust me. But now the wife might, I don't. But
yeah.
I'm too Schuylkill County coal miner to do stuff like that. That damn modern technology. I ain't getting on that inner tube and ordering stuff from the ammo zone. I ain't going to Brazil to get my stuff.
Oh God,
you missed me, didn't you?
What's that?
You said you missed me, didn't you?
Of course, I always missed you. I miss doing the show. I think what we got to do, we got to get back online. We got to get the show going again, and hopefully, we still have all the support from all of our followers and listeners that always followed along with us with the previous shows and whatnot. And especially now with the time of quarantine, we have a little bit more free time. That was always the biggest thing that set us back previously, and why we haven't been on air in such a long time is, again, we just didn't have the time between, Chad working full time, me trying to run my business and the kids and everything. It became more of a burden. And now that we have a little bit of free time and, work is kind of slowed down a little bit, which is scary, but, it is what it is. I think maybe we could devote a little bit more to bring the show back and hopefully come up with something entertaining for people during their time of quarantine and, take it from there. So like we did ask everyone in one of the posts that we had put on our Facebook page, any show topics, any points of interest that anybody would like for us to kind of research and talk about, please post on the show notes underneath tonight's show, or DM us, PM us, whatever the hell it's called now. Email us. What is it? What the hell's the email? Explorers Encounters at explorersgroup.com, right? Isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't even remember it anymore.
Yeah, that's what it is. Or Explorers Seekers of the Truth at Gmail, because Les rarely ever checks the Encounters email.
That's true. If anybody has actually emailed us in the past year, chances are we didn't look at it. Paul says, please do more. It's something to look forward to. Thank you, Paul. I appreciate that. Paramount Theater on State Street. That's a good topic. That's awesome, guys. Keep them coming in. I know in the other posts we had people wanted to know a little bit more about cattle mutilations. I know Moon Joey had mentioned about, stronger theories as to what Sasquatch could be. I know we covered that quite a few times, but Sasquatch is a topic I could talk about to no end. And there were several other ghost people wanted more ghost topics or along those lines. So anything anybody would like us to ramble on about, we'd be happy to oblige.
I would actually, I think somebody brought it up, like skinwalkers and some of the Native American folklore.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
thing on that is, honestly, I could research it until I'm, blue in the face. I would love to find somebody, and maybe somebody can recommend someone who has some expertise in it that could
Mhm.
maybe come on as a guest, or that we could do a pre-recorded interview with and kind of talk with and get on the show.
Yeah.
But that would be something I would definitely, because it's I mean, there's the Skinwalker Ranch, which you see a lot on Facebook and stuff like that. But definitely, I think some Native American folklore, because it does, not that the Skinwalker necessarily ties into Bigfoot, but like the Catalina Island giants.
I've never.
It was, I just watched like a 20-minute mini documentary on it. It was basically, there was a Native American tribe that lived on one of the Catalina Islands, but they always reference this other group. And
Mhm.
they said the other group is known throughout other Indian, or excuse me, Native American, First
Mhm.
Nations, however you want to go. Other groups as far west as like Arizona knew of these people. And what one of the things was, they were all giants.
Mhm.
Giants that were fair skinned with neither dark black or red hair and facial
Mhm.
hair, which
Right, right, right.
facial hair is something that's very non genetically, it's not a normal genetic trait of a Native American or First Nations people. And the First Nations people that lived there reference them as a separate group. Now they weren't Bigfoot or Sasquatch in their
Right, right.
culture. They were another group of people that were fair skinned with black hair to red hair. Now, Western European people and Spanish people actually report meeting these people at different points, but they were known in this tribe, they were actually known as shaman, and were
Mhm.
very powerful shaman. And then there's a legend of a green door that appears on Catalina Island.
Okay, I think I think I know what you're talking about. When you said about Arizona, I remember reading about these pale skinned, red haired giants and stuff. And I want to say that there was like some sort of an extraterrestrial connection, like within this cave or something like that in Arizona, where they
That
found skeletal remains and
that's
odd
actually
objects.
that's a different group. This
Okay.
this group is off the coast of California, and they were dug up. Um, I can't remember when they dug up the graves,
Uh,
but they were finding like 38-inch femur bones. Which,
right, right, right.
but this isn't the same group as Arizona. Arizona is actually a different group, and they were believed to be cannibals.
Yeah, okay, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Moon Joey had posted on their Lovelock Cave. I can't remember the name of the cave. That sounds kind of familiar, but I'm not
I
100% sure.
yeah, I think Lovelock Cave, and especially if Moon Joey's giving it to me, I would go with him. But I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
that is the name of it. But yeah, this is a separate group that was on the Catalina Islands, and there was like 2 to 3 different Indian tribes, and the other 2 Native American tribes reference them. Plus, there's European explorers and Spanish explorers. One of them was a priest who actually gave an account of this group, stating how tall they all were, and the fact that it was odd that all the males had facial hair,
Mhm.
and their hair was neither dark black or red.
Sounds
Now,
like our ancestors.
well, kind of, if you think about it, now these were 7 foot, and they found, I forget how many skeletons. They've actually repatriated a lot of the skeletons because they were dug up in kind of a amateurish archaeology way. They weren't really categorized and it probably wasn't legal the way they did it, but it was the common thing of doing back then.
Mhm.
It would be very interesting if we could get. There's only nine of the tribes people that still live on the island now. Out of those nine, none of them are purebred of that tribe. They've all
Yeah,
mixed over the
yeah,
years. But there was one boy who was interviewed on this mini documentary, and he was kind of relaying some of the story from his grandmother, who was the last purebred of this tribe.
Mhm.
So that would be something interesting to cover. Again, it's Native American folklore. You know, everybody has a little different spin, but I also watched this awesome. Do you know the guy that does The Naked Archaeologist?
Yes, yes. I don't know. I can't think of his name, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I can't remember his name ever. He did this thing with James Cameron. It's on Disney Plus. You should
Uh-huh.
check. It's I think it's under the Drain the Ocean series, but it's on Atlantis.
Hmm.
Morissette, the singer from
Yes,
Canada.
yes. Isn't it ironic? You know,
A
don't
little
you think?
too ironic. Yes, I really do think. It's like right. But no, they took this like journey to kind of like James Cameron funded it, a lot of it,
Mhm.
and basically they showed that like they found in the open ocean, like off the coast of Spain, anchor stones, but anchor stones that predate the known exploration into the Atlantic Ocean.
Mhm.
Then a third of the way to the United States, there's a group of islands. Um, and when the Spanish claimed the islands years ago, they said, "Oh, nobody's ever been here."
Mhm.
Well, that has completely, in the last like 5 to 6 years, been completely rewritten because they found all these matching buildings that match these different areas going into Spain and Malta and stuff like that. They found the similar construction styles, and the they actually found in a wall. If a farmer was just building a stone wall on his farm, was taking stones off his property to do it, found an anchor stone. Now, the neat thing about this anchor stone is most anchor stones back then were like round, or
Mhm.
a lot of them they found in the open ocean were square or triangle, but they have a single pilot hole in it. This anchor stone is so big it has two pilot holes in it,
Mhm.
and the farmer found it in the middle of his field. Now that stone is really heavy to get into the middle of the field to start with, but
Right.
somebody could have rolled it up the hill over the years. But this anchor stone would indicate a ship that would be bigger than anything we knew of being built back then.
Right. Right.
You know, so it's definitely a different, you know, Atlantis being this mythology to all the pieces now fit in this area of Spain that basically all these, like even at all the separate sites that they found in different countries, there's references to these circles, but it's like one small circle, a bigger circle, bigger circle, bigger circle, which is how Plato describes Atlantis, is interlocking circles of land with moats and water between them. So these cultures
Hmm.
that are Bronze Age and older cultures separate it between like Malta, Spain, um, and even in Israel. Because when you look at these circles, the way it's drawn, it's circles, okay, and then it comes down with a stick and comes out like Poseidon's trident.
Mhm.
Well, if you cut the circles in half, it's a menorah. It's the sign that the ancient Hebrew people used as the menorah. It's the same design.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's actually like I watched it late last night and it actually held my interest. And I was to the point where if it would have been boring, I probably would have been asleep.
Mhm.
It actually was really good. And yeah, you can argue Atlantis sank under the ocean. It was something else. It was everything they put together. If you look at it as a logical person, actually fits the mythology. It just changes the location of our known advancements at that point.
I have to check that out. That sounds actually really good. Last night I watched that Skinwalker Ranch
Oh, I thought you watched
show.
Carol fucking Baskins.
Carol Baskins. No, I did watch that, and I tell you, I'll never get that time of my that I wasted of my life back. That was an interesting show, let me tell you. But aside from Tiger King, I watched that Skinwalker Ranch.
Mm-hmm.
How was it? It's interesting. They didn't really go far enough in the first episode to really, in my opinion, I couldn't really like say yay or nay on the validity or this is going to be corny, this is going to be cheesy. It had a little bit of cheese sprinkled in there. The characters are kind of funny, but like you said, it held my interest. I for entertainment value, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it enough to want to know what's going to happen next. I only was able to see one episode on Hulu. So I'm hoping that another one's coming out soon. I don't know when it actually airs, so I'll have to figure that out. But it wasn't too bad. I would recommend at least looking into it. But I was kind of in between that, and I was trying to read that book, Paranormal America, that we did the show on. I wanted to read it in its entirety. So I'm really not getting far on that. I have all the best intentions of reading, but as soon as I start doing it, I fall asleep, no matter what time of day.
I told you the best naps I've ever had have come from reading books. Like, I don't know why you're like, honestly, it's the greatest nap you'll ever have is start reading a book. You will fall asleep eventually.
Yeah, that's true.
I actually picked up a book. I picked it up a couple of years ago. I was telling you about it. I mean, I might as well tell them because they're not in on our private conversations, hopefully. It's what did I say the name of it was? Pirates. Hold on, I'll look it up as I talk. It's a really good book, and it's about the pirates and coastal folklore and legends of the Outer Banks area, like North Carolina. And it has several, I think there's 6 editions total. And a lot of it is, a lot of it's old pirate ghost stories and stuff like that, or maritime ship disaster type stories. I'm trying to find the damn thing now. At any point you want to start talking while I'm looking, less would help.
Well, Moon Joey brought up a funny thing about the Skinwalker Ranch. He said they never changed the name because Bob's Ranch doesn't have the same appeal, and that is true. That is true. But there's a lot of history to that. I guess it started with the Native American folklore or legend of the Skinwalker, which is supposedly a werewolf-like creature or some supernatural being that could take the shape of whatever it wants to be in order to kind of undertake a dark deed. From what I understand, skinwalkers are summoned by a Native American shaman or witch or something along those lines, and it's usually at the request of somebody who wants something done to somebody else that isn't good. So the skinwalker will carry out the bad deed per that person's request. And supposedly this area has a lot of strange phenomena going on. They have it during the show. They were using like Geiger counters and stuff like that to measure radioactivity. And a lot of the devices that they were using were off the charts. They were finding, speaking of cattle mutilations, they were finding all these dead cows on the property and stuff like that. One of them was just alive earlier that morning, and then they found it dead on the far side of the ranch. No puncture, no signs of distress or anything like that. It was just dead. They have these glowing lights along what they call Skinwalker Ridge. I guess there's a mesa that's in a large portion of the property, and it glows. Like if you look at it with infrared lighting, it glows. They tried to dig on the property because I guess they're what there's like ultrasonic readings of something underground. They've done kind of like an ultrasound kind of thing, and they could see something's underneath there. They wanted to dig, but a lot of people were against it because I guess one person was starting to dig and he developed this lump on the back of his head, and his scalp started to detach from the skull, and nobody could figure out what was causing it, how to cure it. It was very bizarre. To me,
I can tell you what it is.
What?
It's radiation sickness. It's overexposure
that's
radiation.
Yeah. So if you're digging and you're whatever might have been buried, if you're unearthing it, you're exposing yourself to higher levels of radiation. So that was what I would say is it's probably like some sort of a beginning stages of a tumor or even a radiation burn where it was just bubbling the skin. So that's kind of where it left off. I mean, there was some other things that happened, like light shafts that would shoot up from behind this mesa, and like the one guy was asking the obvious questions. He's like, is there a used car dealership on the other side? And it's like they're light to attract people. I mean, it's common sense. You know what I mean? It's a good question to ask. Well, but apparently there's stuff buried, and that's, I think, kind of going on to the next episode, because at the end of this episode, the one guy had pulled out this box that he was kind of withholding until the time was right, and there's something in it. I don't know if it's some sort of organic remains of some sort of creature. I don't know what it is. If it's an artifact or something, I don't know. Because that's where the next episode is supposed to pick up. Seems kind of interesting, but I would love to do a show on the history of that Skinwalker Ranch, because it was owned by multiple different kind of people. A lot of them were chased out of there because of supernatural phenomenon that seems to be centralized around the homesteads. It seems interesting.
Is that the one where the guy killed the Greys with a samurai sword?
I don't know.
It was on Ghost Adventures. I remember Skinwalker Ranch or somewhere near there. But he had killed them, and they ran tests on the materials that were trapped to the sword, and it turned out to be plant matter and stuff like that.
I don't. But that's why I kind of want to do a show on that. Is I want to try and do the research and find some more historical information rather than Ghost Adventures.
Well, yeah, I am just saying I remember something from that.
I think it's the same area, but different stories.
Yeah. Well, I found that book, by the way. It's in the kitchen, so I didn't want to get up and get it. It's Pirate. I have a picture of it. I might as well do this part. It's Pirates, Ghost, and Coastal Lore by Charles Harry Weedby. He was a lawyer and judge in North Carolina, but he wrote like 6 books. And this book I have, I picked it up at that used bookstore I go to.
Yeah.
And it's one of those, like, it was a ghost book. I just picked it up like, oh, cool, pirate stories. Let me, read it. I have a book on like the California coast and shipwrecks, and really has nothing.
I think that's one of our impulsive disorders is anything paranormal related we pretty much buy. Especially books.
I pretty much raid their book section on the paranormal every time I go in there. And if it's something I already have, I get all disappointed. I'm like, I already have that.
Yeah, I know. That's like, I don't know if you ever heard of Second and Charles. It's a store down in Allentown. It's like a new and used books. And they have all kinds of stuff down there. But I love going down there because they do have a small new age kind of section, I guess, where all of our stuff falls into, or pseudosciences. And I love going down there and finding. That's where I found that Linda Godfrey book, the one, the Wolfman book, or I'm
Yeah.
the Dogman. So go
Yeah.
ahead. Sorry, I cut you off. Talk about the pirate book.
Yeah. So you talk about small books, book sections. My personal book library is bigger than their paranormal section at the store. Mostly buying books at their store. But there was a couple interesting stories in this one, and I'll share one of them quick that I can, kind of remember off the top of my head. I don't remember names necessarily off of it, but it was a story about a fishing vessel.
Mhm.
And this captain, he was known to be frugal, very frugal. His equipment was, like they said, was old by the time he got it.
Mhm.
So he set out one night, and they set up their boat off the coast, and another boat was set off a little ways away from them. And this was the practice. This is 1776. This was kind of the practice of, you can either leave early in the morning and try to get somewhere, or be there in the morning. So these two boats went with the be there in the morning instead of waiting. So a little before dawn, a massive storm kicks up.
Mhm.
It's November, so they're like, not that uncommon. So the older ship has its anchor line down, and they said the anchor line on this boat was ship, not a boat, was the size of a man's thigh thickness. And this storm kicked up so bad it actually snaps the anchor line.
Mhm.
So now the boat is headed towards the other ship. And so the captain hoists the sails. Well, the sails are so old, the wind's that strong, it rips the sails. So they careen broadside into the other ship, cutting it in half. The other ship sinks. Well, the captain and his crew are throwing everything they have that floats into the water, hoping that people got off the boat can get to it, and then they can rescue them. Never rescue a single person. So it takes about a year for them to get their boat out of the dry dock from being repaired. So it's about November. So the original crew that was on the ship the day it cut this other ship in half and killed all the people aboard it, they set back out, same crew. They get out to not to the same area, but a similar area. They drop anchor in the middle of the night, and they wait for morning. Well, right before morning, this green light just starts filling the area, and it like pops and covers the deck of their ship in this green, almost like we would almost think night vision color. Like,
Okay.
that's the kind of green they kind of describe in this. And as they look, they see people on the deck that aren't accounted for as the crew.
Mhm.
So these people that they see on the deck bathed in this green light start working the nets. And they're pulling the nets in and dumping them into the hole, and then throwing the nets back out and pulling the next net and dumping it. And the crew, the actual crew that's supposed to be on the boat, is scattered up against walls. Some of them are taking the sign of the cross. They're all frightened. The captain's watching it, but stays calm.
Mhm.
So the boat starts to kind of sit down because of the load on it. So he figures, time to go. So there's a flash of light. The green mist disappears. He goes back into Ocracoke Island, pulls in. His crew's getting off, setting up to take the fish off out of the hole. He walks down. There's not a single fish in the boat. So people now come down. His crew comes down. They're looking around like, no, we know for a fact there were fish on this boat. The boat sat down in the water the way it would when it's loaded.
Mhm.
So he tries to rehire the same crew to go back out. The crew won't do it. They refuse to get on the boat. So he hires another crew. Well, this other crew is drunkards and the absolute dregs of society, and he only gets half a crew. They go out again. The same thing happens. This green light starts to appear on the horizon, and then all of a sudden it pops and covers the deck.
Mhm.
And there's this ghost crew from this other ship again. And here's the thing, it's 1776, so he recognizes all the people from this ghost crew.
Mhm.
He knows them by name. Again, the crew is scattered about the boat, and this crew is just working the nets. And they're dropping fish in to the hole and throwing the nets back out. So it goes on. The boat sits back down again. He's like, I'm not even worried about what's on the boat. I'm just going in. I'm just taking the ship in. I'm done. He pulls into the harbor, ties up the boat. The crew gets off the boat, runs away on the island, refuses to go anywhere near the boat. People say, oh, what did you catch? He said, nothing. No, we didn't find anything. He left the island shortly after on another ship, never to be heard from again. The legend is that he committed suicide over the guilt of killing this other crew and then seeing them twice in the spirit world. So when he killed himself, the devil was there, and the devil took him direct. But the boat, since he owned the boat and it was the dock where he tied up was his, the boat basically sank. It just rotted to pieces and sank eventually. So now on a full moon in November, you can actually, the boat is down under the water and the water is relatively clear enough to see down a good bit. They say you see a green mist over what should be the deck, and you see people dancing around and playing music on the deck of the ship. Bum, bum, bum.
Dun dun. That's pretty cool, though. I mean, that's a good story.
Yeah, I mean, is it true? Is it just hokey folklore? It could be, but it's interesting.
It's entertaining at least, at the very least.
Yeah, I mean, it was enough to hold my interest, which is scattered at best at times. But so that was one of the stories in the book. But I think it's about 6 books he's written. He passed away in 1990. They've kind of published a lot of his works after him passing, because he actually founded like the ghost tour group on the island, like the Ghost Walk and stuff like that, from his books, kind of like Mark Nesbitt did.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's definitely an interesting book series, and it's kind of, it ties in pirates and just general. The island is 16 miles, and it's probably at some points like 100 yards wide.
Yeah.
So it's this island off our coast that has a rich, Blackbeard was killed right off the coast of it. The Queen Anne's Revenge sits off the coast of it. So it's definitely got some like pirate history, and from what I've read so far, it's got some good ghosts and folklore to it.
I think that's a location we need to go down and check out.
Well, I plan
once quarantine's done.
Yeah, I've already planned. Once quarantine's over, I'm heading there. So it's like 6 hours from my house, so I'm good. It's like 2 hours on a ferry.
That's not bad.
No, 4 hours of driving, 2 hours on a boat.
We've been through worse.
Yeah, I've been stuck at home for like 3 weeks now.
That's right. Well, I think with that being said, I think we could wrap it up for tonight. Again, we just wanted to stop back. And again, I apologize for the rocky start. It wouldn't be an Explorers Seekers of the Truth show had we not had any kind of a technical issue. But we do want to thank those of you who tuned in. thank you for always being there for us. Hopefully, we can find some more topics. I don't know how frequently we'll have this show. I know we used to do it weekly. I don't know if we'll be able to do that, but we'll try and get back on the air as often as possible, and hopefully, we can start, bringing some really good content and whatnot. So, again, thank everybody. I thank everybody for tuning in. Chad,
I just want to jump in, and before anybody makes the comment, yes, we did sound rough. Okay. Like I just want to take that one comment out before somebody has to hop on and say it.
guys are rusty. Yeah,
yeah, we are. We haven't done this in almost probably about a year. So
year and a half or about that. Yeah.
The fact that we had to figure out how to get our stuff working again.
Oh yeah, what you all don't understand is we literally probably spent 3 hours, almost 4 hours before the show trying to get our stuff to communicate and work.
Well, if you think about it, we technically started at 3:00 or 15 minutes of 3.
Yep.
It didn't work until what time did I send you the message that magically all of a sudden it was working?
It was like 8. It was like right before we went live because we were like, it was right before you went to eat dinner because we're like, all right, if we can't make it work, we're pulling the plug.
Yeah. I mean,
it worked, then we went live and then it didn't work.
Yeah. So, I mean, just realize, yes, we do sound rusty. It's okay. We're not professionals.
Hopefully we'll knock the rust off and then the next shows will be a lot more streamlined or at best what we used to do. So again, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I'm Lesson Cabbage, joined as always by my best friend and co-host Chad Charlesworth. I'll see you all next time.
Night night.